Hi, everybody. This is Immigration Lawyer John Khosravi with episode number 226 of the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. I want to thank you for joining us again. We have a great guest today, Delia Franco, a local attorney here who's got a really good sized firm for immigration lawyer size. It's pretty big, and just has really made it. So I wanted to for the audience to get to know her, where she came from, and how she got to develop her practice in the way that she has. But before starting, I want to remind everybody that the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine is out. As you know, Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine is full of information about practice management, about case law, all this kind of stuff. Just go to immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine to check that out. The new issue, I have a final draft of it. I got to proofread it. It'll be out next week. So issue number 4 is coming out. Also want to thank our main sponsor, DocuWise, who sponsors the magazine and the podcast. DocuWise, as you all know, is the all-in-one form system and case management, office management. It's got a whole suite of options, and they've upgraded and updated their whole processes recently. Call them up, email them, do a practice round to see what's going on with their software. If you wanted to get additional 10% off their annual plan, just go to DocuWise.com/immigration-lawyers-podcast and use the code Immigration Lawyers Podcast, and you'll be able to get extra 10% off that. Let them know John sent you, so that'll be nice. So having said that, I want to introduce Lorena. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much, John. I really appreciate this invitation. I personally listen to your podcast all the time, and I find it fascinating. Thank you so much for having this for us.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. So, quick notes. I called you Lorena. What do you go by, Delia, or which name do you prefer?
I go by Delia usually.
Okay, Delia. Okay, Delia. So, we know each other, and not as closely, unfortunately, just because COVID, especially the last couple of years, has kept us out on everything.
Yes.
But how did you get involved in immigration? Where'd you grow up, and how did you get involved in this field?
Well, I grew up in East Los Angeles. So this was where I was brought up. My mother's Mexican. My father was born in the States, but he's half Mexican, half German.
Mhm.
And we grew up here. Yeah. And then how did I get into immigration? Well, my dream was really to become a criminal lawyer. I saw a lot of injustices here in East Los Angeles. A lot of people were incarcerated and I didn't think it was fair, at least the sentences that they were receiving, et cetera. So we saw a lot of that growing up. And I definitely wanted to be a solution to the issues that I was seeing in the criminal justice system. So my objective was to become a lawyer, get into criminal law, and eventually become a defense attorney. But once I graduated from law school, I started working for the public defender's office in San Diego. And I was assigned a lot of sex offender cases. And so I had to put on the stand children. Oh my goodness, it was just extremely difficult for me to do. I expected it to be differently.
Yeah.
So I moved from San Diego back to Los Angeles. Once in Los Angeles, one of the first jobs that they offered me was as an immigration lawyer. And the truth is, the day that I represented an immigrant family before the judge, I fell in love with immigration law, and I knew that that was going to be my calling for sure.
Cool. So, uh, did you like so? Is your practice right now primarily removal, or do you do full service immigration?
We do full service. We don't do too much of business immigration, but the majority of our cases are EOIR, so immigration court, and also USCIS family law. We do a little bit 50-50, I would say.
Interesting. And so, there's just a lot I want to ask you to get to know about your firm because I've seen
Yeah.
your photos. You guys have a huge team, and I'm coming from a full solo to hiring my first associate. How did that pathway work for you to go from you started your own firm and then to grow it? Did you have partners? How did that all start?
Well, I worked for a couple of immigration law firms before I started my own firm, and I noticed things that I didn't like too much in not necessarily on where I worked, but also other law firms that I saw how they were developing. A lot of the focus was on um, getting a number of cases, and I felt that the quality was suffering because of the volume. So that was one of my concerns. I also saw that there was a huge need for pro bono work. I worked at a couple law firms and I wanted to do some pro bono work because I noticed people would come in and they couldn't afford my services, but that shouldn't be the end of it. I thought that I should have a little bit of wiggle room to represent people that couldn't afford our services, because I just thought it was the 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 thing to do, at least in what I wanted to, the type of lawyer I wanted to be. So I figured, okay, I wanted to start my own law firm with these objectives in mind, doing a little bit of pro bono work where it was necessary, and also making sure that the quality did not suffer because of the volume, and making sure that every client was attended to in the manner that um, that would hopefully guarantee a great result, and the person would feel comfortable. Especially, a lot of our immigrants, they do feel a certain, well, they don't necessarily have the knowledge of the legal system, and then it's a very draining and stressful process to especially be confronted in removal proceedings in front of an immigration judge. So that was kind of what I was thinking when I was working for these law firms. I wanted something different, and I finally got the guts to quit my job, which was, I was finally making six figures for the first time in my life. So it was a very, very scary move for me. This was in 2009. So in the middle of the recession as well. But I figured, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, so I didn't have that many responsibilities. It was the precise time to do it. And yeah, I thought at first I was going to be on my own for quite a while, but on October, so I started the law firm July of 2009, and I
Mhm.
hired my first assistant in October. So we quickly grew. I was very involved with the community before I started my own law office, and I am very grateful that all these different nonprofit organizations and community organizations really supported me in sending me potential clients to the
Yeah.
office. So I definitely attributed to that. I think the community came together and said, Delia's starting her law office, let's help her out, and they definitely did. Yeah, so that's kind of how it started.
So in 2009, yourself and an assistant, and then when was like the first lawyer brought up? What happened that, it's a huge expense to bring on a lawyer on the team. What was going through your mind when that happened, and when did that happen?
Yeah, it was very scary. I was very hesitant because obviously you got to pay your staff before you pay yourself. And I know for the first 6 months, I didn't make a penny. I was definitely investing in the business and making sure that my one staff member got paid. So I once I figured that we definitely needed another lawyer. So the whole point of starting this firm was to make sure that the quality did not suffer. And I
Mhm.
did see that we were increasing our numbers, yet I was afraid that we weren't going to have the time necessary to be able to handle all of these cases. So that is when I kind of stopped taking cases for a second. Um, I spoke to a few of finance advisors to tell me how I would be able to hire another person. And then once all those things came into fruition, kind of my plans and then the economic part, I hired my first lawyer, and I was very honest with him at first, that I was only going to hire him for 6 months. It was a risky thing for me to do, and I just didn't know the future of how it was going to be. And
Mhm.
it worked out. It really did work out. I'm sure that the my first lawyer was fearful of coming into the office, especially hearing from me, hey, in 6 months it may not work out and I may have to let you go. But at least I wanted to be honest.
Now, you mentioned you talked to some finance people. Who were the people that gave you guidance? And so for other people, like myself included, who mentored or guided you on a topic like that?
Well, a few people. So one of them was another lawyer who started his own firm. So that
Mhm.
that was one. Also, our accountant, he actually is an accountant for other law firms as well. So he has a little bit of the grasp of how a bigger law firm would work. In other words, a law firm that would have more staff, including lawyers. And also just asking around. That was another thing. I took a few business classes. I certainly don't come from a business major, but I took a few business classes here and there, which helped me kind of try to make the right decisions.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was definitely a very, very scary thing to do, at least at the beginning.
You do. I mean, a big part of your practice, half of it at least, is like EOIR removal defense, which is well known to be a hugely time-consuming process. Putting aside just the emotional aspects of it, when a person's potentially in immigration jail or going to get kicked out of the country, separate the family. But how do you manage the timelines? I know, is it do you have any systems or anything set in place to just manage that caseload? Because that could be overwhelming.
Yes, it's definitely overwhelming. We have a total of four paralegals in our office, and we try to divide those equally, and so that not too many, not one assistant has too many EOIR cases. And I think
Yeah.
that's very helpful. And then we have our docket divided into dormant cases and active cases. And for example, let's say a merits hearing is coming up in a year. So that file is pulled, and we have that year to prepare for the merits hearing, and we pull the file about four months in advance if it's a master hearing. So we have a lot of I guess checks and balances in place to make sure that we take care of it before that we have enough time to prepare, number one, and then number two, that one staff member is not overwhelmed by EOIR. I think that's probably the key.
How frustrating have been the delays for you with regards to just the court, and how far back are your cases? You have cases like 3 or 4 years from now or stuff like that?
Yes, yes, we definitely do. It has been frustrating in some cases. Unfortunately, some of our asylum cases are not as strong as we would want them to be. So it has been convenient for our clients. And again, we're very honest with our clients from the get-go. And so they're not, they're, the delays are not that bad for their cases, because that might mean they stay here a little bit longer. As for our other cases, which is the majority, where we have lawful permanent residents, maybe confronting removal, where the likelihood of success is high, it is extremely frustrating, because it's, you can only explain it so much, and I'm sure they understand, but it's still it puts a stop in their lives, and that must be very frustrating for them and also for our office.
Have the ICE attorneys opened up since Trump left about like trying to do administrative? I haven't done EOR stuff in 10 years, but we're admin closure, that kind of stuff, or is it still not?
Yes, yes. So that opened up approximately, I want to say, in June of 2021. So we have been closing quite a few cases. It's been a little bit different than during the Obama administration. So let's say, for example, we have a case where the only relief is asylum. The likelihood of closing that case is very low. However, we have been able to successfully administratively close or even terminate certain cases with EOIR, and that has been a great result for a lot of our clients.
Wonderful. Now, interesting thing, because like I know one of your partners, Elizabeth. She's actually a listener to the show, I believe, as well. We met a couple years ago. And is she a partner with your firm?
She's the managing attorney of our law firm.
Oh,
She's not a partner, but she is essentially the lawyer that manages the entire office.
but
She's been with us for, I think, almost 4 years. So she's
okay.
in charge of making sure that our staff is not overwhelmed, making sure that we are taking a certain number of cases, and again, the quality doesn't suffer. And we have weekly meetings that she holds. She holds. So yeah, she's definitely a huge asset in our firm.
And how do you go about like training? So if you bring on an attorney, or it probably applies more towards staff, how do you get them up to date? Do you hire people that are fresh, or do you try to like hire some people that have experience already?
It's been difficult to hire people, I feel like, in the last couple of years. So the
Yeah,
truth is it depends on who comes by our door. If we are in a big need of someone, and we have people applying that are fresh, that are very new that to immigration law, then we go ahead and take it upon ourselves to train them. But we usually prefer someone with experience,
yeah.
both paralegals and also attorneys. But again, it's been difficult to, especially during the Trump administration, it was very difficult to get people to apply to do immigration. And even at least one of our lawyers, one of our great lawyers, he didn't want to continue doing immigration law because it was so heart-wrenching to
Yeah.
represent people during this administration. So we lost quality people,
Wow.
unfortunately, because of how difficult it was to represent, to be an immigration lawyer during that epic. Yeah.
I think if he got another 4 years, probably like a quarter of immigration lawyers would have quit or like cut down their practice dramatically, at least. It
I
was
definitely agree.
now. So on the positive side, optimistic side. So obviously, I could tell you're really business minded and focus on make sure things are done right in the office as well as in the legal stuff. Do you have like a vision of how 2022 is going to look for you and which direction you're going towards?
Well, we're finally getting our feet wet with marketing. It's been maybe about, I want to say, 2 to 3 years. Before that, we didn't do any marketing. We were just referred by other clients or previous clients. And so we've been focusing a lot on social media. And I think I did my first TikTok video not too long ago. I was really hesitant to do that, but it could be informative, which I appreciate. So that's kind of where we're trying to learn. We finally we opened up a small studio at the office where we're going to do a few lives and some informational workshops and things of that sort. So it's a new phenomenon for me. I'm not really good in front of the camera, or at least it feels a little bit uncomfortable because I went to law school. I'm not necessarily a TV or social media person, but little by little, I think we're getting more out there in terms of marketing. So that's probably where we're going to be moving towards 2022.
Very interesting. And so, your office is headquartered in Los Angeles. Do you plan on expanding? Do you have some background in San Diego, or do you travel for cases anyway, so you don't necessarily need to have a full-on office somewhere else?
Our focus right before the pandemic was definitely to open multiple offices, and we were looking at real estate, we were looking at satellite office in other states, things of that sort. But COVID really changed things for us, and I think we probably maybe open up satellite office in other states, but people feel much more comfortable hiring a lawyer remotely. And I think once they see our reviews, once they speak to other clients that we have that we have helped in a great way, then they're more comfortable hiring somebody that may not necessarily be close to them. So I don't see us opening necessarily like a huge office like the one we have in East Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And our second office is in San Diego. It's been there for since 2013, and it's been great. We have one of our lawyers. His name is Sergio Perez, also a wonderful immigration lawyer who also does some employment. But yeah, I don't see us growing in terms of brick and mortar offices
Which
due to
us
COVID.
is going to save you tens of thousands of dollars. So it's pretty cool that
Yes,
it's forced people to adjust to.
definitely. I didn't expect things to change this drastically, but yeah, we had to adapt. Those 2 years were very, very difficult. I know, at least for our office, we closed it to the public for over a year and a half. We wanted to make sure that our staff was safe. We worked from our homes, and it sure suffered in terms economically, because very few new clients were retaining us, but previous clients or referrals from other clients and previous clients, they they were the reason why we survived during the pandemic. So we're also very grateful for the referrals.
And it's interesting thing I've seen with EOIR case in particular, they do want to meet in person. It's very important for them because like it's just such a stressful period they're going to go through. Again, I remember years ago they always like, no, I want to come in person. Like, but video would make them comfortable. Plus, they probably have a lot of paperwork that they want to bring in to see, and they may not have a scanner or have a PDF of it they could send. So it just so much makes more sense for those kind of things. Just go in person and get the file and see what's going on.
Yes, it was very difficult to convince them, but we try to train our staff to teach them about technology for the first time, encourage them that it's going to be easy. Also, inform them how the benefits. So, for example, you don't have to be driving so far. Some people take the bus, some
Yeah.
people take the day off from work. And then also the original documents could be in jeopardy if something happens, you know. So we try to advocate on behalf of technology, and also that it would be okay to trust us even if they didn't see us. But we didn't make any exceptions. We did not see anyone for about a year and a half physically in our office, because again, we want to make sure that our staff was safe, and our families, of course.
Yeah. Do you have a preference? 'Cause I like this because I don't have to leave the house anymore, and I do all my stuff video. But and some lawyers like, I really want to go back to the office. I hate being at home. And that, do you have which way do you land? Or are you right in the middle?
I love working from home. I'm going to be honest. But I do miss my staff. There's something
Yeah,
about we have a very lively office and very caring. So, for example, if we have a win, we all celebrate and we go out in the office and just like maybe bring a cake and things of that sort that are very sweet. So I miss that, and I miss the camaraderie. But I'm a bit of an introvert, so I like working from home quite a bit. I'm so much more efficient, I feel.
yeah. It's just so much easier to just roll out of bed. Sometimes get into it. You got to be careful not to work too much because you are at home.
Mhm.
How far is your office from where you live?
7 minutes.
Oh,
So I also live in East Los
okay.
Angeles. Very, very close. It's wonderful. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on. Definitely, if you or your attorneys at your firm want to contribute an article, the magazine be happy to publish it about the topics that you specialize in. If people wanted to reach out to you, most of the audience is law students, lawyers, and paralegals and para assistants. So, how do you have social media or website or email? What's the best way they could reach out to you?
Yes, we are on all the social media platforms. So Franco Law Group, francolawgroup.com is the website, and then Franco Law Group, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now TikTok. So yeah, they can definitely reach out, and I'm happy to mentor. So that's a big part of what I do. I love to mentor students or just people interested in the immigration profession. I think we are in a big need of great immigration lawyers. So I'd be happy to speak to anybody that's interested in this field.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you just see how many job openings there are for lawyers and paralegals in the field. There's huge demand. And, I'm kind of jealous when you say frankolaw.com, like, oh, it's so much easier to have a last name like yours than mine. It's Khosravi, is Khos. I'm like, if the clients just say it
Yeah, it's a beautiful last name nonetheless. It might be
yeah.
hard for some people to pronounce.
Well, Delia, stay on the line. I'm going to end the show, but I really appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we got to connect and have, just get to have this discussion, get to know you. And hopefully, and I missed the Ayla, Southern California Ayla dinner that we have. Did you go for the Christmas party this year?
I did. I did. Went with Lisbeth Iniguez, our managing attorney, and Sergio Perez, our attorney from San Diego. Oh, and also Bianca Alvarado, who's a brand new lawyer in our office.
Mm.
Yes, it was so different to see immigration lawyers. It's been a long time because of COVID, so it was lovely. It was beautiful. I had a really great time.
Yeah, I was so like sad 'cause I had a conflicting thing. I'm like, oh man, I really want to go, and every time I go, it's a blast. It's just like it's just so fun. It's like you're going back to a family reunion kind of thing. But I guess I'll
Definitely.
next time, if not, hopefully sooner. They have some sort of summer bash, end of COVID bash, where all us get together.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to it. I really miss a lot of my friends and colleagues. Yeah, and ALA conference as well. That was a really neat event that we would all go to. So hopefully soon. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, I was so disappointed San Diego one was stopped because I was like right next door, and I could bring my family. But the next one's in New York. I'm like, New York's a little far and hard to go to it now. So we'll see how that goes. All right,
Oh
thank
my
you so
God, yes, you're right. Thank you
definitely.
again, John.
You're welcome. Thank you. So stay on the line. Everyone who's listening, please download it and read the Immigration Lawyer Toolbox magazine. You're going to get a lot of info, especially in the O1 visas if you're interested in learning about that or if you're a practitioner in that area. I guess until next one, have a good one. Bye bye.